Title of the first section today is multiplying using FOIL. In this section, we'll continue to multiply problems using FOIL, which again stands for first, outside, inside, last. First question we'll look at, in parentheses, x plus 2, and outside parentheses to the second power. This question has one parentheses raised to the second power. We'll multiply using FOIL. When we have a second power outside, it means we have the same parentheses twice. So x plus 2 to the second power means we'll have x plus 2 times the same parentheses x plus 2. The 2 again does not distribute inside the parentheses. The 2 means you have the same parentheses twice. Once we write the same parentheses twice, now we can multiply using FOIL. Again, taking the first term, multiplying it by the first term in each parentheses. X times x would be x squared. The O in FOIL, the outside, going from the far left to the far right. X times 2 would be 2x. Multiplying the inside terms, or middle terms, 2 times x would also be 2x. And multiplying the last number in each parentheses, 2 times 2, which would be 4. Again, multiplying using FOIL basically takes the first term, multiplying that twice, and takes the second term, multiplying that twice. Whenever you have the same parentheses twice, the middle two terms will match up and be the same term, and we'll be able to combine like terms. So our final answer would be x squared. 2x plus 2x would be 4x, and plus 4 would stay the same. So our final answer, x squared plus 4x plus 4. Second question, in parentheses y plus 3, and outside parentheses to the second power. Again, when we have a parentheses raised to the second power, the 2 does not distribute to the inside. The 2 exponent means we have the same parentheses twice. So y plus 3 times itself, y plus 3. Multiplying the first terms again, y times y would be y squared. Multiplying the far left times the far right for the outside terms, y times 3 would be positive 3y. Multiplying the inside terms, or two middle terms, 3 times y would again be 3y. And multiplying the last terms, or last two numbers in each parentheses, 3 times 3, which would be 9. And again, when you have the one parentheses squared, where the same parentheses written twice, the middle terms will always match up, and you'll be able to combine like terms. So our final answer, y squared, adding 3y plus 3y would be 6y, and adding the 9, our final answer would be y squared plus 6y plus 9. And last question for the section, inside parentheses, a minus 4 to the second power. Again, the second power means we'll take the same parentheses and write it twice. So a minus 4 times a minus 4. Multiplying the first terms again, a times a would be a to the second power. Multiplying the left side times the right side, or outside terms, a times a negative 4 would be negative 4a. Multiplying the inside terms, or the middle numbers, negative 4 times a would be negative 4a. And multiplying the outside numbers, or last numbers, negative 4 times negative 4. Negative times negative would be positive, and 4 times 4 would be 16. And the last step again, we can combine the like terms. A squared will stay the same. Minus 4a minus 4a. When you have these same signs, we'll keep it negative, and add the numbers, we'll have negative 8a. Plus 16 would stay the same. So our final answer, a squared minus 8a plus 16. Title of the last section today is more multiplying using FOIL. And again, this section will continue to multiply binomials using FOIL, which again is first, outside, inside, less. First question. In the first parentheses, x plus 4, and the second parentheses, x minus 4. Again, multiplying binomials, each parentheses has two terms, or two numbers and letters. We can multiply the first terms, x times x, which would be x squared. Multiplying the outside, the left side times the right side, x times a negative 4 would be minus 4x. Multiplying the inside or middle two numbers, 4 times x would be 4x. And multiplying the last numbers or last terms in each parentheses, 4 times a negative 4. Multiplying one negative would stay negative, and 4 times 4 would be 16. When combining like terms here, the middle terms are exactly the same, but they're opposite signs. Negative 4 plus 4, or negative 4x plus 4x would cancel out and be 0. And we'll be left with just the first term and the last term, which is x squared minus 16. When looking at the original question, we had the same parentheses twice, but one was positive and one was negative. When you have the same parentheses but opposite signs, the middle terms will match up, but they'll be opposites and they'll cancel out. So again, our final answer, x squared minus 16. Second question. First parentheses is y plus 8. And second parentheses is y minus 8. Again, looking at this question, we have the same parentheses twice, but opposite signs. And again, that means the middle terms should cancel out. Multiplying the first terms, y times y would be y squared. Multiplying the outside terms, y times a negative 8 would be negative 8y. Multiplying the inside or middle terms, 8 times y would be positive 8y. And multiplying the last terms, 8 times a negative 8 would be negative 64. And again, the middle terms being opposite signs, negative 8y plus 8y would cancel out or be 0. And our final answer would be the first term and the last term, which is y squared minus 64. And last question for the section. First parentheses is y minus 4. And the second parentheses, y squared minus 5y minus 2. In this question, the first parentheses is a binomial with two terms or two numbers, but the second parentheses is a trinomial with three terms or three numbers. Still using the concept of FOIL, we'll take the first term y and multiply it by each of the terms in the second parentheses, and we'll also take the negative 4, the second term, and multiply it by the three terms in the second parentheses. So the first step, we'll multiply y times y squared. Y times y squared adding the exponents would be y to the third power. Second step, y times the middle term on the second parentheses. Y times a negative 5y would be negative 5y squared. And y times the last number in the second parentheses. Y times a negative 2 would be negative 2y. And again, when you have a trinomial, three numbers or three terms, we'll take the first term, multiply that 3 times, and we'll also take the second term, negative 4, and multiply that 3 times. So multiplying the negative 4 times the first term in the second parentheses, negative 4 times y squared would be negative 4y squared. Multiplying the negative 4 times the second term in the second parentheses, negative 4 times a negative 5y. Negative 4 times a negative 5 would be positive 20, and the y would stay on there, so positive 20y. And the last term, negative 4 times a negative 2. Two negatives multiplying would be positive, and 4 times 2 would be positive 8. And again, multiplying a trinomial with 3 terms, we'll have 6 terms after we multiply. Y times each of the 3, and negative 4 times each of the 3. Final step, we want to combine like terms. Keeping this in standard form, we'll do the highest exponents first. Y to the third power. There is no other y to the third power, so that will stay the same. If we do y to the second power, or y squared, we can combine that with the other y squared. So negative 5y squared minus 4y squared. Negative 5 minus 4 would be negative 9. And y squared, again, would stay the same. Combining the y's, negative 2y plus 20y. Negative 2 plus 20. Subtracting those and keeping the bigger sign, we'll have positive 18y. And the single number 8, our last number with no other number to combine, would stay as positive 8. So our final answer after multiplying the binomial times the trinomial will be y to the third power minus 9y squared plus 18y plus 8.